Hey, welcome to Getting It Done North of 7. Recently, my wife was doing some Christmas baking, cookies and such, and she noticed that her cookies, her baking, wasn't cooking thoroughly. And then she realized that probably her oven wasn't heating properly. So she noticed that the top element was not heating up. So she asked me, why is my broil element not heating? Well, I didn't know. I did some research, and this is what we found out. So what I did was, first I shut the power off to the oven, and then I undid the screws that hold the top broiler element on, and I lowered the broil element because I thought maybe the continuity of that element was broke. I thought the easiest thing had to be that. So what that is, it's the power of flow through the element, and if there's a break anywhere, it will not work. So to check the continuity of the element, you could use like this multimeter, and you just put it on ohms at the lowest setting. And if the meter moves, or like this is a digital, if it's analog, your meter will move, and in a digital, you'll get a reading if there's continuity. If there's no continuity, the needle won't move and you won't get a reading on a digital multimeter. So I figured that's what it might be. So that's why I took the top broil element out. But as I was taking out the element, I noticed that there's a wire on one side of the element and a wire on the other side of the element, and one wire wasn't attached. So somehow it loosened and it fell in behind the oven. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to move the oven out of the wall here. It's my first time doing it, so bear with me. And all we're going to do is reach in behind and we're going to hook up that element again, and it probably should work. But first we're going to shut the power off to this because we don't want any accidents. So the first thing we're going to do is remove that element again, because there is one wire hooked up to the element and that has to be detached first. So we have two screws at the back here on this Whirlpool oven, and there's about 3 or 4 at the top. So we'll have to remove the oven racks. So there, I lowered the element, and the one wire on this side is detached. Only this side is on. So it must have just fell in behind. So like I said, we've got to move the oven out from here to get at the wire and run it through this hole again and attach it, and it should work. And then there's a gauge here, like a sensor here that has to be detached from a wire as well. You can see the lead from the sensor here goes right into here, and it looks like it's crimped in there, and I don't want that to come undone. So I'm going to just leave that loose for now and see if I can pull this oven out without detaching that. Okay, now we'll have to take the trim off of here to get at the screws that hold the oven into the wall itself. I don't know if the top part has to be detached as well, for it's all one piece. We'll get there when we get there, and we'll figure it out. You see there's a screw holding this trim on both sides. Okay, that just snaps off at the bottom. That pulls out, so that wasn't too hard. Same here, pull this down. So see, now we got at those hidden screws that hold the oven into the wood, into the wall. So what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to do one screw here, one screw in the other, and I'm going to see if I can slide it. If I can't, I know there's other screws holding this in. So we'll just take a try at it. You know, it shouldn't be a lot holding it in because it sits on 2 boards going in there. It's a snug fit. All the weight is on the bottom. Okay, so I'm just wiggling the door here, and it looks like the oven itself is sliding out. So I think we got everything we need to, I'm hoping. We're going to keep an eye on that sensor that's in there, of course. I think that gauges your temperature. And we'll make sure everything comes out best as it can. Yet those lights are attached. So imagine there's wires going to everything back there, hoping that they're long enough, because I just want to pull it out enough so I can run that wire through that hole in there again. So what I did is I got a couple objects, a fish and tackle box and this lantern holder, so that when I pull the oven out, it can rest on here. I don't have to drop it down another foot, whatever that is. So now we're gonna move this out more. Okay, so I slid the oven out, and it's on this table. I hope the table holds. Make sure you use a strong table. This should hold. Let's pray. So anyways, I noticed that it's just the cable, the main power cable going to the oven. The wires aren't attached back here. They're not hanging loose. So we got to take this back panel off to get at those wires. So that's what we're going to do right now. So I'm starting to loosen all these screws that are holding the back panel on. I'm just using a pair of pliers to loosen them. I didn't want to run downstairs to grab any tools. So I'm just going to loosen them all and then back them out by hand because they're really loose. Once you loosen them, they're loose. So I'll get a few more here and then we'll take this panel off and I'll bring you back. Okay, here we are. We got the panel off the back and here is all our wires. Here is the wire that was missing. It came off of the element. So we're going to poke this wire back into the hole here, put our panel back on, and then we're going to slide the oven back on, put our elements on, and it should work. All right, the back panel's back on. The oven is slid back in. Hopefully you can see that. That top wire is the one that was missing. So it's through the hole now. That one's through the hole. So I'm going to put the screws back in place to hold the oven against the wall. And then we're going to put the elements back in, hook them all up, put our trim back on, and then we'll test it. So, this job wasn't too hard. And if I would have hired an electrician to come fix this or an appliance repairman, it would have cost me probably $200-300. If you just stop and you think about it a little bit, maybe watch my YouTube video, you will realize if you got the tools, you can do this yourself. And just take your time, be careful. And when you're dealing with electrical, always disconnect the power to whatever you're using. And if you're not sure, just shut the main power switch off at the panel. Okay, our temperature sensor is buttoned up. So now we'll do the bottom element. So now we're going to hook up the wires to our top element and secure it to the back wall. So before I get too far, I want to make sure that this wire hooks up to this element snug and doesn't come off again. See, that's a little loose for my liking. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some pliers and I'm going to crimp this connection here that's on this wire. Okay, both our elements are fastened in there now. So now we're just going to put the trim on the sides and we're going to test it. Okay, so we turn the power back onto the stove. So now we're going to test out the broil element. So we're going to turn on custom broil and we're going to hit start. And we're going to see if it heats up. Okay, it's been running for about a minute and I can see the element is lit up, so everything works now really good. I'll show you. So there you go, you see the elements working. So that's all it was that wire. That was a crazy thing to happen. Okay, that was a job. I didn't know how it would turn out, but it turned out just the way I thought it would. I just wasn't sure. So if this video helped you, give me a thumbs up and we'll see you on the next video.